Hey guys, tonight we drift into a story that starts with the glint of gold foil and ends with dead silence at a country estate. You're standing in the center of your living room, fingers brushing over thick wedding invitations with raised calligraphy. Your sister's big day is coming up, and it's going to be extravagant. How could it not be? You paid for it. The envelope is heavy. The ink smells expensive. But the respect inside? Practically non-existent. You pause, rereading the words for the fifth time, even though you already know what they say. You helped choose the wording, after all. But your name isn't on it. Just hers and her fiancé's, plus the location, a sprawling vineyard estate you put a down payment on 6 months ago. And yet, you're not smiling. Because your phone's been pinging all day with passive-aggressive messages from your sister Claire. She's stressed, of course. Weddings are historical pressure cookers. Even ancient Rome had something similar. They called it confariatio, and brides had to pretend to be entirely silent during the ceremony, lest they bring shame to their family. Historians still argue whether it was meant to protect them or control them. Fun! Claire's messages aren't exactly silent. They're full of emojis and thinly veiled reminders that this wedding needs to go perfectly and we don't want drama. You're starting to feel more like a liability than a sibling. You sit back, the gold glinting in the light, and sigh. You've spent thousands, given months of your life. But here you are, being asked to shrink so the spotlight won't cast shadows on their perfect tableau. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. I always love seeing that. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You scroll through your texts again, not really looking for anything new, just torturing yourself. It's like when archaeologists keep digging the same patch of sand, hoping a new civilization will sprout up. But no, the messages are still there. And now one from Claire's future mother-in-law has entered the group chat like a barbed wire wreath wrapped in velvet. She's paying for it? I thought it was coming from the family. Maybe keep her off to the side? Oof, you blink, then blink again, and suddenly you're a ghost haunting your own generosity. The truth stings more than you'd like to admit. You didn't fund this wedding because you had spare cash burning holes in your yoga pants. You did it because Claire begged, because she said you were the only one who believed in her when she and James got engaged. You wanted her to feel celebrated, elevated. The irony? Ancient Egyptian weddings didn't even have ceremonies. People just moved in together and called it done. But here in your world, the ceremonial part is where everything's unraveling. You try to find humor in it, some fringe tidbit to lighten the mood. Like the fact that Marie Antoinette had an actual wooden mock-up of Versailles shipped to Austria for her wedding planning. Guess some bridezillas are historical. Historians still debate whether she requested it herself or if it was a political flex. Either way, it's giving Claire. You breathe through your nose, long and slow. You're not invited. Not officially. And you're starting to wonder if this isn't a mistake, but a plan. A well-powdered, perfectly manicured plan to push you aside just before the flashbulbs go off. You lean back in your chair, your fingers still hovering over your phone like you're waiting for a text that won't come. The room around you is silent, save for the low hum of your fridge. Ironic, since you've paid for 12 chilled seafood towers that you're no longer allowed to eat. You scroll through the wedding invoice folder again, and each line item feels like a personal insult. String quartet, $3,200. Bespoke rose wall, $1,800. Custom calligraphy invites. Ironically, sent without your name, $1,050. It's like reading a museum exhibit of your own irrelevance. You paid for the wedding, and now you're the artifact being quietly buried before the grand opening. The injustice is so surreal it almost doesn't sting. Almost. You remember how, during the American Gilded Age, Society's 400 dictated who was in and who was invisible. Invitations weren't about love, they were about leverage. Historians still argue whether Caroline Astor actually coined the list or if it was a later PR myth. But either way, your sister would have fit right in. Your hands tighten around the phone. Claire had cried on your couch when James's parents said the wedding had to be, quote, classy. Now she's copying their posture so hard it's like her spine's on loan. You flip open your laptop, almost on instinct. The contracts are all stored here, in neat little PDF tombs. They're in your name, every vendor, every down payment, every final balance. Claire may be the bride, but you're the bank, the backbone, the one who brought her Pinterest board to life. And right now, you're the only one who could make it all vanish with a few quiet clicks. Your mouse hovers over the florist's contract. The one who promised peonies flown in from Holland, white, blush, and a few in this shade called Bridal Haze, which frankly sounds like a bad indie band. You tap the touchpad twice. Open, scroll, there it is. Clause 9b. Full authority of cancellation resides with the payee. You. It's almost laughable how no one thought to take that power out of your hands. You hesitate though, not out of doubt, but something more surgical. You want this to land just right. Not petty, not cruel, just illuminating. Like the way ancient Greek playwrights used deus ex machina to resolve impossible conflicts. You're about to lower the machine yourself, right onto their smug little stage. Historians still debate whether Euripides overused that device to make a point, or because he ran out of plot. Either way, the mechanism always dropped from above, invisible until it wasn't. Just like you. You start with the catering. The deposit alone could feed a Roman legion. The caterer is polite but stunned. You make up a story about the venue being double booked. He accepts it, promises a refund minus the deposit, and offers sympathy. One down. You move on. Photographer, cancelled. DJ, cancelled. Horse-drawn carriage, yes, seriously, cancelled. You wonder if this is how Machiavelli felt drafting The Prince while under house arrest. Calm, icy. Not cruel, just precise. Historians still argue whether Niccolò believed in what he wrote or if it was satire aimed at Medici sensibilities. You click send one final time. The venue confirmation email vanishes into cyberspace, taking the entire wedding with it. You lean back again. Your inbox is a graveyard now, everything still and silent. And tomorrow? Well, tomorrow will be history. The morning of the wedding arrives with suspicious quiet, like the calm before a French Revolution. You sip your coffee slowly, the aroma wrapping around your senses like a warm shawl, while the city begins to stir with the illusion of celebration. In another timeline, you'd be getting your hair done right now, or fluffing the bride's veil, or taste-testing canapés so rich, Marie Antoinette herself might have said, maybe just one, but not today. Your phone vibrates once. Then again. Then a torrent. Texts, missed calls, notifications piling like snowdrifts. You let it ring. You let them stew. Somewhere across town, guests are arriving. Parking attendants stand confused at a locked gate. A luxury bus idles, with no one to receive it. Curious chatter turns to mild concern, then to dread. You can almost hear it through the silence. You step outside. The sunlight is soft, filtered through thin clouds, as if even the sky is holding its breath. Historians still argue whether Napoleon's failed wedding to Désirée was due to political pressure or personal ambition. Either way, it led to a seismic shift in alliances, and one very heartbroken Swedish queen. You're not saying you're Napoleon, but you do feel like you're watching an empire buckle, just a little. You scroll through a group chat. One bridesmaid's message reads, "Venue locked? What's going on?" Another chimes in. Caterer never showed. No flowers either. And then the kicker. From your sister. "Where are you? I know you did this. Why?" You stare at the blinking cursor. Don't answer. Not yet. Just let it simmer. Like how ancient Mayan priests delayed rituals to align with lunar eclipses. Because timing, after all, is everything. You smile. Let them arrive. Let them knock. No one's opening that door. Your sister's texts roll in faster now, punctuation crumbling under raw panic. First, it's confusion. Did the venue mess up? Then fury. You absolute psycho. I know it was you. And finally, the guilt trip. You promised me. After everything, you promised. But here's the thing. Promises require respect to mean anything. You'd given her everything. Time, money, energy. And in return, she'd handed you an unceremonious uninvite at the behest of in-laws who still call you the single one, like it's a character flaw. You scroll, Lips twitching at one text. This is humiliating. Mom's crying. Well, so were you. When you were cut from the guest list you paid for, you toss your phone on the couch like Cleopatra, discarding bad news. Historians still argue whether she truly charmed Julius Caesar with wit, or if he was just dazzled by the drama. Either way, she ruled a kingdom. And today, you hold the reins on this wedding saga. Across the city, guests are posting on Instagram puzzled selfies in front of locked doors. Hashtag wedding fail, hashtag is this the right place? A few TikToks emerge. One cousin doing a slow pan of the desolate parking lot with Sarah McLachlan's Angel playing in the background. You don't laugh. Much. Meanwhile, the florist calls. Just checking. Still canceled, right? You respond sweetly. Still canceled. But thank you again for the kindness. Because kindness matters, doesn't it? Even when you're being edged out of your own generosity, like some medieval sponsor of a royal feast who got booted last minute for not being noble enough. Yes, that happened to a French financier once in 1732. Don't be that guy. The hours tick by. No catering, no quartet, no minister. Just an empty shell of a wedding and a family scrambling for answers. Let them feel what it's like to be erased. You're halfway through a slice of lemon tart. Bless your local bakery for existing when your mother calls. The ringtone is still that chirpy classical piece she loves, the one that always makes you think of overly polite dinner parties and side eyes over salad forks. You answer with a yawn. Yes, Mom. She doesn't waste time. What did you do? There it is, not why you did it, not how they hurt you. Just the accusation, neatly folded in satin and rage. You almost expect a string quartet to play in the background. Something tragic and in D minor. She's speaking fast, words tumbling like ancient coins from a dropped velvet pouch. Your sister is inconsolable. Her fiancé's parents are threatening to sue someone. Everyone's blaming me for the disaster. You sip your tea. Across history, family dramas have burned empires to the ground. The Ptolemaic dynasty ended in blood and betrayal, mostly because Cleopatra couldn't trust her own brother. Historians still argue whether internal politics or Roman meddling finally sealed the dynasty's fate, but either way, family's often the spark and the fuel. You remind your mom, gently, that you paid for every single element of the wedding, under the condition you were included. When that condition vanished, so did the wedding. That's uncalled for, she says, faltering. Not nearly as uncalled for, you reply, as pretending I didn't matter. The silence hangs. It's thick. Like the dust over Tutankhamun's sealed tomb before it was cracked open in 1922. And remember how that went? All those curses and whispers and doom. Please, she finally whispers, just fix it. But you're not a magician. You're the wallet. And the wallet's closed. You hang up softly, heart oddly still. Sometimes, a locked venue is the most honest thing at a wedding. By the time night falls, your phone's vibrating like a beehive in a washing machine. Cousins. College friends. Even that one aunt who believes in crystals but not vaccines, they're all texting variations of the same stunned inquiry. Is the wedding canceled? You leave most of them on read. A few you answer with a simple, I'm not the one who uninvited me. There's something vaguely Roman about the whole affair. Like watching the collapse of a gaudy empire from the sidelines, popcorn in hand. Historians still argue whether Nero actually fiddled while Rome burned. But in your version of events, you're content to light a symbolic match and watch the RSVPs smolder. You scroll through social media, photos from earlier in the day are already up. The venue's glossy exterior, the floral arch, a close-up of the monogrammed cocktail napkins you paid for. There's even a TikTok teaser from one of the bridesmaids set to a romantic remix of Ed Sheeran. But now, guests are circling a locked building, confused, sweating in their formal wear. The cake has vanished, the photographer ghosted, and the string quartet, oh yes, has packed up and gone. Word is spreading fast. You spot a shaky Instagram live. Someone pans over the dark, echoing entryway and a few muttered, What the hells float through the audio. In the 1500s, a similar drama played out in Florence, when a powerful Medici wedding was derailed after a bitter inheritance spat. That bride wore silk imported from China. This one, you assume, had a dress sponsored by your debit card. Either way, both affairs ended with betrayal embroidered into every hem. The best part? No one can trace the cancellations back to you, unless they're ready to admit why you weren't there. And that's a truth their pride won't let them touch. Morning trickles in like honey, slow and golden. You sip your coffee, legs curled under you, watching the digital fallout unfold. It's better than primetime. A bridesmaid posts a tearful close-up. I just wanted to dance with my bestie today, loudly crying. Another is tagging the catering company in an angry story. One uncle writes a 400-word rant on Facebook about how weddings used to be sacred, not circus acts. But your favorite moment comes when your sister finally breaks the silence. A single post, no caption, just a moody black and white selfie and a location tag that simply says, "Betrayed." You almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Historians still argue whether Cleopatra's fall was political, personal, or simply the inevitable unraveling of too many high-stakes games. Either way, hers was a tale of miscalculations and pride, just like this one. You imagine your sister draped on her bed like a modern-day queen of drama, sobbing into imported throw pillows. The group chat your sister once kicked you from, now on fire. One cousin leaks screenshots. Turns out, Claire and her new in-laws had orchestrated your exclusion well in advance. She'll just steal attention. We don't want her weird energy. Make sure she doesn't make it awkward for the investors. You smile, satisfied. Like the 12th century monks who secretly annotated their rival monks' manuscripts with insults in the margins, your revenge has been subtle, old school, and utterly delicious. Still, part of you wonders, will they ever own up to what they did, admit they pushed the one person who made it all possible? Or will they spend the next decade telling themselves it was a fluke, an unfortunate glitch no one could have seen coming? Either way, you're done carrying their shame. And they'll never again carry your generosity. The weeks that follow feel like walking through a fog of awkward family dinners and whispered apologies you don't want. Your phone buzzes less often, friends unsure if they can still trust you, vendors asking what happened. You don't respond. Not yet. You find yourself late at night, scrolling through old photos of happier times. Your sister laughing over a shared secret, your parents beaming at your awkward teenage selves. The whole Reyes family, a carefully crafted image now cracked at the edges. You remind yourself that family loyalty has always been a complicated dance, like the waltzes performed at grand weddings centuries ago, stunning on the surface but controlled by unseen hands. Historians still argue whether the grand balls of Victorian England were celebrations of love or mechanisms for political power plays. Tonight, your mind drifts to those ballroom floors, imagining the whispers, the sidelong glances, the power struggles hidden behind silk gowns. Somewhere, deep down, you acknowledge your sister's pain. But the betrayal? That's on her in-laws, on Lucas, on your stepmother Claire, all playing their parts to keep up appearances. One night, you stumble across a French fact. In some cultures, weddings were canceled on a whim to send a political message or punish a rival family. The symbolism of your silent cancellation now feels a little less petty and a lot more historically justified. Still, you wrestle with what's next. Can there ever be forgiveness when trust is broken so thoroughly? Or is this the quiet end of a chapter, closed not with fireworks but with a locked door? You breathe in slowly, feeling the weight lift just a little. Because sometimes, the best revenge is just letting the truth sit in the empty room, echoing louder than any argument. The days after the wedding fade softly. Like the last notes of a lullaby drifting through a quiet room, you find comfort in small routines. The steady tick of the clock, the warmth of your morning tea, the way sunlight pools on the windowsill. The chaos of anger and hurt begins to settle, replaced by a calm that feels fragile but real. You think about forgiveness. Not the loud, dramatic kind from movies, but the quiet kind that grows slowly, like moss on stone. It doesn't erase the past, nor does it demand forgetting. Instead, it offers peace, a way to move forward without carrying the heavy burden of resentment. Historians still argue whether true forgiveness is possible without reconciliation. But in this soft moment, you understand it's more about freeing yourself than others. Maybe your sister will come to see the cracks in her own story, or maybe the walls will stay up forever. Either way, you've stepped out of the shadow of expectation and into a space where your own voice matters. And as the evening sky darkens, you whisper to yourself, a gentle promise: no more empty halls, no more locked doors. Just the quiet strength of knowing you stood your ground, even when no one was watching. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together.